Imagine being told you have exactly 60 days left to live, and instead of breaking down, you make a request so shocking that it changes everything. That's how this story begins. A cold prison cell, a young man sitting in silence, and a police officer who thought she had seen it all until she walked through that door. 2 months. She told him, her voice steady, "That's all you have left if you have a final wish. Now is the time." The prisoner didn't cry, he didn't panic, he smiled. And what he said next would follow her for the rest of her life. "My last wish," he said calmly, "is to spend every night until my execution with a woman." The room froze. For a second, she thought she misheard him. But then he looked straight into her eyes and said something even more unbelievable. "Why don't you do it?" That was the moment everything changed, because this wasn't just a request. It was a challenge. His name was Tyler Brooks. 20-1 years old, convicted of murdering his own mother. The evidence had seemed clear, the trial had been fast, the verdict had been final. And now, he was waiting to die. But there was something about him that didn't match the crime. He didn't look like a killer. He didn't act like one either. While most inmates screamed, begged, or broke down, Tyler sat in silence, like a man who had already made peace with something the world didn't understand. The officer assigned to him was Megan Carter, young, disciplined, unshakable. She believed in the law, she believed in justice, and most importantly, she believed that criminals deserve their fate. At least, she did before she met him. The first few days after that conversation, Megan tried to forget it. She buried herself in work, filed reports, took extra shifts, but no matter how hard she tried, one thing kept coming back to her mind. His eyes. Not angry, not desperate, just calm. To calm. It didn't make sense, and the more she thought about it, the more it bothered her. Because people who are guilty don't look like that. One evening, unable to ignore it any longer, she went back to his cell. "Do you feel nothing?" she asked him. "You're about to die, and you're sitting here like it doesn't matter." Tyler looked at her for a long moment before speaking. "What if I told you," he said quietly, "that I didn't do it?" Megan's expression hardened instantly. "The evidence says otherwise." Tyler nodded slowly. "Evidence doesn't always tell the truth." She crossed her arms. "Then why didn't you defend yourself?" There was a pause. And for the first time, the calm in his eyes shifted. "I tried," he said softly, but no one was listening. That night, Megan couldn't sleep. His words echoed in her mind, not because they were convincing, but because they felt real. Too real to ignore. Days passed, then weeks, and something unexpected began to happen. Megan started visiting him more often. At first, it was just questions. Then conversations, then silence, where neither of them spoke, but neither of them left. And slowly, the line between officer and inmate began to blur. Because she wasn't just seeing a prisoner anymore, she was seeing a person. One night, everything changed. The station was empty. Rain tapped softly against the windows. And for the first time, Megan stood outside his cell, not as an officer, but as something else. Something she didn't fully understand. She unlocked the door, walked inside, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. "You came," Tyler whispered. Megan didn't answer. She just stood there, heart racing. Mind spinning, because she knew once she crossed this line, there was no going back. "I'm not here as an officer," she finally said. "I'm here as Megan." That night, something happened that neither of them could explain. Not logic, not duty, not even fear could stop it. To people from completely different worlds found something real in a place meant for endings. But what came after was even more shocking, because that night didn't just change their relationship. It changed everything. The next morning, Megan reopened the case. Alone. Quietly. Without permission, because now she needed to know the truth, not for the law. Not for the system. But for him. She went through every report, every detail, every piece of evidence. And what she found didn't add up. Fingerprints didn't match. Witness statements conflicted. Timelines were off. It was small things at first, but together, they formed something undeniable. Doubt. And once doubt enters a case like that, it spreads. Megan pushed harder. Filed requests, asked questions no one wanted to answer, faced resistance from her own department, but she didn't stop, because now, it wasn't just a case. It was a life. Weeks later, the truth came out. The real killer was found. Arrested. And this time, there was no doubt. Tyler Brooks was innocent. The day he walked out of prison, the world felt different for him. For Megan. For both of them, because they knew this wasn't just about justice. It was about what they had found in the darkest place imaginable. Months later, they built a life together. Simple. Quiet. Real. The kind of life neither of them thought they would ever have, but peace doesn't last forever. One morning, a letter appeared at their door. No name. No address. Just a message: you freed a man who wasn't meant to walk away. Megan's heart dropped, because she knew this wasn't over. The past was coming back, and this time, it wasn't just about truth. It was about survival. That night, she checked every lock, every window, every shadow, because something didn't feel right. And deep down, she knew why. Some secrets don't stay buried. Some stories don't end when the truth comes out. And some people don't forgive. As the storm rolled in and the lights flickered, Megan sat in silence, watching, waiting, knowing that whatever was coming next would test everything. Their love, their trust, and the truth they fought so hard to uncover. Because sometimes the real story begins after the ending, and this time, it was far from over. The letter changed everything. Not because of what it said, but because of what it meant. Someone was watching, someone who knew the truth, or worse, someone who had been part of it. Megan didn't panic. She couldn't afford to. Instead, she did what she had been trained to do: observe, analyze, prepare. But this wasn't just another case. This was her life now, and Tyler's. For the next few days, nothing happened. No calls. No movement. No sign of danger. And somehow, that made it worse. Because silence like that, it wasn't safety. It was waiting. Tyler tried to move on. He went back to work. Kept himself busy. But Megan could see it in his eyes. That same look from the prison cell. The calm mixed with something deeper, something unresolved. You think it's him? He asked one night. Megan didn't answer immediately. I think, she said slowly. We don't know everything yet. That was enough, because in cases like this, not knowing is the most dangerous place to be. Megan reopened everything. Again. But this time, she went deeper. Past reports. Past evidence. Past assumptions. She started questioning the one thing no one else had dared to question. What if the truth they found wasn't the full truth? The man who confessed to the murder, Caleb Ellis, was already in custody. Case closed. Justice served. That's what the system said. But when Megan visited him again, something felt off. He didn't look guilty. He looked lost. You remember what you did? She asked him. Caleb stared at her, confused. People say I did it. He muttered. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Megan felt a chill run down her spine, because that wasn't a confession, that was uncertainty. And uncertainty doesn't close cases. It reopens them. Back at home, Megan laid everything out. Photos. Reports. Timelines. And for the first time, Tyler sat beside her. Not as a suspect, but as someone searching for answers. My mother, he said quietly. She wasn't just attacked. Whoever did this knew the house. Megan looked up. That detail hadn't been in the official report. How do you know? That Tyler hesitated. Because nothing was taken. He said, it wasn't robbery, it was personal. That changed everything. Now they weren't looking at a random crime. They were looking at something targeted. Something intentional. That night, Megan couldn't stop thinking, if it wasn't robbery, if it wasn't random, then who, and more importantly, why? The answer came when she found something buried deep in the original case file. Something small, almost ignored. A name, someone who had been questioned once and then dismissed. No follow up. No investigation. Just forgotten. Megan stared at it. Heart racing, because sometimes the biggest clues are the ones people overlook. The next day, she tracked him down. A former associate of Tyler's mother, someone who had been close to the family years ago, too close. When she knocked on his door, something felt wrong immediately. The silence. The tension. The way the door opened slowly. The man standing there didn't look surprised. He looked prepared. I was wondering when you'd come, he said. That was all Megan needed to hear. Inside the house, the truth finally began to surface. Not all at once, but piece by piece. And with every word, the story they thought they knew started to fall apart. Tyler's mother hadn't just been a victim. She had been involved in something dangerous. Something that didn't end the night she died. And the man standing in front of Megan, he wasn't just a witness. He was part of it. You should have left it alone, he said quietly. Megan's hand moved instinctively toward her side. No weapon. She wasn't on duty. But she didn't step back. You sent the letter, she said. It wasn't a question. He smiled. Curiosity can be dangerous, he replied. At that moment, everything became clear. This wasn't over. It had never been over. Back at home, Tyler listened as Megan told him everything. The truth, the lies, the pieces finally coming together. And for the first time, fear appeared on his face. Not for himself, but for her. They're not going to stop, he said. Megan nodded. I know.